In my previous function, I had built and sold an organization, and we were in many countries, and I could see that there was like an inconsistency in the way that we had our internal structure, which also meant that we perhaps were not the most like delicious company for an investor, actually. What could we have done differently?
In that case, it sounds like that one of the things that we need to look at is how do we build internal consistency on the most value-creating processes? So if you want to be contextually effective as a leader, you need to start understanding which processes drive value. So raw value on the functional creation, so that is if you're manufacturing or if you deliver software as a service, or that's the raw functional value creation. But also on decision making, on information processing. And when I pinpoint those processes, I need to start looking at how do I formalize them enough so that we get mature processes, but at the same time, how do I work with the discipline culture so we get a discipline in actually exercising, running along those processes. We need to do that through involvement. And now we are back at the other part of contextual leadership, which is how do I involve my organization? We've got these priorities, we've got this process that we want to make work as a global process owner. Then I need to go into the different countries. I need to involve the people that are going to live the process. I'm going to say, this is the process. How are we going to change our behaviors so that we actually support this process? Out of that comes two things. Clear commitments to start aligning to the process and acting your way into process maturity. And the other part is that we then need to verify, but we've got this deviation or that deviation. So here, the contextual leader needs to drive that process maturity up through involvement with his or her people. Now, there are other parts of it, and that is that the external environment might be a hard deal for such a process, maturing processes. So if it's a very dynamic external environment, or if it is a very open organization. So if you've got an organization with a lot of consultants coming in and out, they will actually exercise a lot of influence on what goes on in the organization. So in some instances, we might need to close that system openness and not allow that external influence to deviate in those processes. So we've got some different contextual handles, and we've got a cultural handle, and then the last part of making that work is education, training, expertise in actually driving those processes. You can't empower people that do not have the expertise to actually run the way you want them to operate. So if we don't ramp up expertise, we can't ramp up empowerment. If we don't decentralize, we can't ramp up empowerment. And if we want repeatability in a decentralized structure, different countries, we need to formalize, empower, ramp up expertise in order to make that happen.